It's time now for Focus. Now, they're known as collaborators of justice, and Italy has the largest number of them in the world. Criminals who chose to come forward, confess their crimes, and then work together with police and prosecutors in exchange for protection and even compensation from the state. Originally developed to tackle terrorism, they've become a crucial legal tool in the fight against organised crime. Our reporters weigh up some of the pros and cons of the system.
Behind these barriers is the most fortified court in Italy. High-profile, delicate trials against the Sicilian mafia take place in this tribunal in Palermo.
This court is an outpost of the state inside mafia territory. The structure can withstand explosions and possible external attacks.
This is no ordinary hearing. The witness in this case is speaking from the safety of a secure bunker at a secret location in northern Italy. He joins the court via video link.
Gaspare Mutolo, do you hear us?
Yes, good morning.
Gaspare Mutolo was a former mafioso. For 20 years, he was part of Cosa Nostra, or the Sicilian Mafia. Today, he lives in hiding, facing death threats from the mafia since he confessed to his crimes.
When and why did you decide to collaborate with the justice system?
The mafiosi changed their behavior and started killing even women. For me, that was the trigger. I couldn't recognize myself within this group that would deliberately kill women. I collaborated because I want to completely change my life.
This trial is part of a long-term investigation. Its aim to establish possible links between the Italian state and the mafia back in the 1990s. At the time, Gaspare Mutolo knew all the ins and outs of the Sicilian mafia.
I was involved in extortion, smuggling heroin, homicide. In other words, everything that there was to do. But these are the things that every person has to do in the territory they control.
Over the past 20 years, similar testimony has been heard in this courtroom. It was here in April 1986 that the first mafia informant spoke out for the first time. In exchange, these informants, or pentiti as they're known, get a reduced sentence, a monthly salary, special housing and state protection for both themselves and their families. Anti-mafia prosecutor Vittorio Teresi has been investigating the Sicilian mafia since the early 1980s. He has no doubts about the importance of these mob informants.
It's often happened that we've managed to prevent hundreds of murders through the data that the informants have given us. It's extremely important because it helps us break this wall of omerta, the wall of secrecy that characterizes this type of criminal organization. It's
omerta, or the mafia's sacred code of silence, that the Italian government is trying to break with legislation that protects these informants. These criminals have 180 days following their arrest to reveal information about mafia crimes and testify against fellow mobsters. The aim is to better understand the complex nature of these criminal networks.
It helps us to understand from the inside how things work, like the structure of the organization, who the bosses are, how they change, who gives the orders. All the rules that would be impossible for us to understand otherwise.
Lawyer Giuseppe Di Perri has been involved in various cases involving the Sicilian mafia. He believes there are limits to the testimony provided by these criminals.
They don't always tell the truth. We have cases in Italy where people have even been sentenced to life imprisonment for the lies made by these people.
Thousands of mafia informants have come forward since the law was established in 1991.
Now people have started to come forward. It's not like before when they were silent, didn't speak and were scared. There's still fear, but we're starting to defeat omerta.
An idea that many Sicilians share. But it's still a long way to go before Italy can rid itself of organized crime.
Well, for more on that, I'm joined now here in the newsroom by Maria Chiara Prodi, who is the president of Libera France, an organisation that argues for the involvement of civil society in the fight against organised crime. Thank you for being with us today.
Thanks to you.
We heard in that report for and against the advantages brought by the involvement of these repentiti in the system, but also the dangers of relying on the word of people who are essentially paid to turn against their former business partners.
I'll offer you another point of view. I think that the fact that they're paid, they guarantee us that they really cut from the life they lived before. And maybe we should think that when they decide to become informant to the police, they often have the choice of being still involved in their clan and risk their death because they are in a weak position within their clan, or because their clan is weak beside other clans, or to collaborate with the states.
What difference has it made? This has been used for many years now in Italy. What difference has it made in Italy's fight against the mafia?
Well, the important point is to get information about how the mafia works and organize themselves. So the pentiti are really necessary for us to know as much as we can about the mafia, and in practice, they help us in prevent hundreds and hundreds of murders and crimes just only by their witness.
Is the fight in Italy being won?
We cannot say that. And it's dangerous to think that the most have been done. It's a long way. And I think that the first step is to include the civil society in the fight. And the second step is to think always that the mafia is not only an Italian problem, but the organized crime is a worldwide problem.
We tend to think of the mafia, but it is a problem in many other countries as well.
Exactly. And that's why, as Libera, we are at the base of two other networks. One is FLAIR, Freedom, Legality and Rights in Europe, and the other is ALAS, America Latina Alternativa Social. And the idea is that elsewhere in the world there are civil societies that want to fight the organized crimes, because now it's really too much involved in our everyday life, and it's time to stop it.
Do we have an idea of the extent of its involvement in our everyday life? What figures exist?
Well, we always think about the movies we know about Italian mafia, but if you start to think about the drug traffics or human being traffics or all the real estate mafia, then you can figure out that there is in your neighborhood and wherever you live.
So your organization's campaign then for the involvement of ordinary men and women,
yes,
civil society in the fight against organized crime broadly, what role can they play? What difference does it make?
Well, first of all, we have to not to leave only to judges and police the role of changing the existing, because first of all, it's a matter of culture. And we always tend to see the really center of the mafia activities, but we must consider it better than there is several circles, and the external circle is made by people that they just pretend nothing is happening and then just doesn't see or say anything. So acting from the cultural point of view permits to restrain these circles and then let the mafia not being so powerful as it is now.
Part of the problems, of course, I think of the mafia in particular, but no doubt it applies to some of the other examples that you've given, is that often there is, at best, a sort of quiet complicity with those in powers, at worst, sometimes outright arrangements that are made.
That's why it's not only a struggle against mafia, but against corruption, and I think that people should ask more loudly about transparency, not only in the economic sphere, but as well in the political sphere.
Maria Chiara Prodi, thank you so much for having been with us
Thanks
today.
to you.
There, a look at, in Italy, the role of the repentiti and more broadly, the fight against organised crime. It is 26 minutes past 2 here in Paris. You're watching live from Paris, broadcasting from the French capital. In just a moment, we're going to have another look at the very latest headlines. A look also at the very latest in sports and the latest results from the French Ligue 1. That's all coming up in just a moment. Do stay with us.